Guys, C/20 here. Today I want to be talking about a topic in the world of video games once more, which has kind of frustrated me recently. So essentially, if you guys might have noticed recently that file sizes for video games have just exponentially gotten bigger, right? Like, for example, you could play a game from 10 years ago and the file size would be like 30 gigs, but now it would be like 120 or something like that. Because the thing with older games is that they might have been similar in content to what we have now, but they were better optimized and used a lot of trickery to make you think they looked better, right? So, in that sense, that made them have far smaller file sizes than you would think. Problem is, now we have such good access to technology for realism in video games and stuff as such that we don't really need to use a lot of the tricks anymore, so we just go all out with the hardware we have now. And that hardware is very costly in terms of simply file size. And it's also another problem I have with this is quite simply that it's making video games more expensive. Since think about it, if your game is bigger and has a bigger budget, then you have a better excuse to price it at $79 American, right? And that excuse leads to customers being hurt a little more. And why is that? Why is that a problem? Actually, well, because globally and where people buy video games the most, like the U.S. or Canada, for example, well, they're not at the best spot right now when it comes to like money. Obviously, they're not poor, but everything's getting more expensive in Canada and the U.S. obviously. So it's led to some consequences, and some people just can't afford that $79. Which is why, in theory, if game developers just develop smaller games or use less resources for the games, use them more sparingly, and use them in terms of use tricks to make it look better, stuff like that, then maybe they can have a larger consumer base to buy their games. Because quite simply, if you have a game at like $50 that took far less resources to make, then more people might be inclined to buy the game because, it's $50. It's not as expensive. People have more of an incentive to buy it, to purchase their game because, yeah. Also, another problem with file sizes is also recently a lot of people wanted to switch to PC gaming and stuff like that. But the problem with PC gaming is that if your computer isn't powerful enough so if your computer isn't like very powerful, some games will just destroy your computer and you can't do anything about it. Meanwhile with consoles, there's like a consistent quality to the game because it's the same thing, the same exact hardware, right? So I think these developers, if they want to develop for PC, what they should at least try and attempt to do is give a proper, optimization of the game. Make the game optimized and not bloated. Because as we've seen recently with Call of Duty, 120 gigabytes is kind of ridiculous. If I'm being honest, I think it is kind of ridiculous. Because yeah, realistically, that's just taking up such a large part of your console or computer. Like, for example, the PS5, the base PS5 doesn't even have 1 terabyte on its hard drive. That means that means the Call of Duty would, in theory, take up a 1/10 of your entire storage on PS5, a base PS5, right? Which is kind of crazy. Meanwhile, you can in theory make a very similar game with like 60 gigabytes max. So, yeah. And also another thing is with PC games, you can like with PC games, like since the market is like more broad, you should probably just like put more settings, more fidelity settings, like low end, high end, and stuff like that. I know most PC games have that, but so what I believe should be done is give access to video games on PC to most PC players, because realistically now, because of how big games get, a lot of the PC population PC population just can't play games like that. They just can't play games. And I believe if companies like really lock in, right? If companies really lock in and just start working on better ports for PC that aren't bloated and oversized, then they could tap into a very, very different market that is willing to buy their games still, right? So they could just make more money by reducing the file sizes. Because when you have bigger file sizes on PC, you're getting complaints from customers. Oh no, the game doesn't run on my computer, 0 out of 10. Stuff like that, right? So, quite simply, I believe that just doing such a simple thing and making sure you optimize your games a little better can really, really help companies out. And so, yeah, it's just a positive. It will be a net positive for customers and for players as well. For players, for customers, and for the companies as well, in my opinion. So I don't know why companies don't do it more. So I believe this is what they should do, in my opinion. This is all my opinion, by the way. I'm no expert on corporate functions or whatever. So yeah, honestly, yeah, I think that'll be it for what I have to say with this video. I think I got my point across. If you enjoyed my video, then don't forget to like and subscribe, please. My channel probably needs it, you know what I mean? So, thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and out.